Okay, so that's what you're talking about, is local news. Now, STV introduced the opt-outs, I think it was getting on for 2 years ago now. And it's the way forward, to be honest. People want local news. I think local newspapers are still doing pretty well. National newspapers are struggling, as you know, but local newspapers are doing pretty well. STV is going very much on this idea of a local news. We have these local opt-outs in the Central Belt, which do the East and the West. STV North do Tayside and do Aberdeen and the Highlands. And the reason that is done is because of a demand for it. People want local news. Also on our website, we are increasingly doing local, not just local news, but local reviews of clubs, of bars, of restaurants, all of that sort of stuff. And that's proving increasingly popular for us. It's proving increasingly popular for local newspapers as well. My point being that local is certainly one of the main directions forward, and you'll find lots of people doing that. That opens up opportunities for journalists, clearly. I had years ago, when I saw an ITN reporter, I can't remember his name, but he was crouched in a trench, and there was tracers flying over the trench, and he did his piece to camera. And I have to say, I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. The opportunities to do that are kind of limited, but where the opportunities are growing is in local news, knowing your patch, because that's what people want to know about. STV would plan to expand theirs. They've got visions of expanding into Inverness and covering the Highlands in more detail, in Dundee, down the borders, and into Ayrshire as well, potentially. So, the answer to your question is it's very much the way forward, local news. Yeah.
This might sound like a weird question, but in terms of your job and when you started out, what kind of hours were you doing, and do you think it's possible to juggle such hours with family life?
Well, I'm probably not a good example of that. When I started, I didn't have a family, and and it was possible also in the BBC to do a lot of extra hours. I did a lot of sport, for example, on the side, as it were, freelance work. Specifically in relation to women, we have a number of women in our office who present, who report, and who also have families, and their hours are arranged to suit. Obviously, it has to fit in with the requirements of the newsroom, but you'll find that news organisations are very adaptable to that. It might mean shorter weeks, it might mean half days here and there, but it's certainly possible to do it. How would that impact in your career? Well, it hasn't on one of the presenters you saw there, Louise, is has it her?
Good evening. The owners of Glasgow's.
She's got a young family, and she has to make that juggle. We have producers of the programme, not people just on screen, but producers of the programme who have young families. You will find that, for example, producing Reporting Scotland, I can't believe I said that. Going to scrub that. Producing the STV News at 6, for example, we have, it's quite a draining and long day, so you might talk about working from 7:30 in the morning to 6:30 at night, and possibly beyond once the programmes come off air. But if you're only doing that 2 or 3 days a week, then you've got other time off. It's doable, it's not a restriction, is what I'm saying. By and large, the news agenda sets itself. You know pretty much what it is. The sources for your news agenda are news diaries. Organisations will notify the events that are coming up. You also have news wires that alert you to various stories that are happening. You know what's happening in the courts. Your own correspondents know what's happening. So by and large, the agenda is fairly clear. How we then cover it is a daily discussion, planning meeting before, maybe looking ahead to the week, but then a daily discussion as to what stories we're going to cover. Everyone's involved in that, because I've got a degree of experience, and also I've produced the programme fairly often as well. Then I've a reasonable say in it, but by no means the final say. It's not as like you have in America, where you have the anchor editor who decides everything. That's not the way we have it here. No, it's far more collegiate than that, and the producer will make the final decision, not me. I think if you can get into a postgraduate course, my recommendation, if one of my sons was wanting to do this, I would say get a general degree, get a postgraduate, and then try and get in. But what I would say to him in the first instance is, if you can get in before you do any of that, frankly, that's what to do. Best journalists I've known, best 4 or 5 journalists I've known in my career, none of them had further education. They all went from school. And that includes guys like Eddie Mayer. I don't know if you're familiar with Radio 4. Eddie Mayer, the presenter of PM, didn't do university at all. He just went straight into radio from school. I mean, more than capable of university, but he didn't see it as the way he wanted to go. And he was so talented that he didn't have to bother with that anyway. But yes, I'm not convinced by media degrees. I have to be candid about that. But certainly postgraduate degrees, I think, will give you that. Journalists would maybe tell you, as I'm telling you, it's maybe not necessary, but I think younger people who have just entered the industry would say to you, to get noticed, then you probably do have to have a postgraduate degree or a media degree. Well, the one at Cardiff is apparently very good. The one at City University in London is apparently very good. Falmouth is very good. We've got a reporter with us who just finished one at Falmouth 2 years ago, I think. And she talks very highly about that, very practical. What you're looking for is a practical course rather than a theoretical course. So Falmouth was good. I believe Preston's got a fairly good reputation as well. I think Napier are introducing a postgraduate, I think, and I think Caledonia University is introducing a postgraduate as well. I'm so far removed from all of that, though, that you'd probably actually be better speaking to, researching it yourself candidly and seeing what people are saying online about it. But these ones have had a good reputation for a long, long time and still do. Right.
So I'm trying to figure out, is it better to do a graduate course or just enter straight in? Okay?
Absolutely. If you can enter straight in, enter straight in. But it might be that you need the postgraduate to do that. Knock on doors. Make yourself... I got my first job by writing to the Sunday Post and then cold calling with a couple of copies of The Guardian and saying to the editor, I'm down here, can I have 5 minutes with you? On the strength of that, I got a job, so I didn't have to do a postgraduate. Now, that I was lucky, but I was also determined. But if you can do that, the hardest thing in this industry is to get in. Once you get in, then you follow the opportunities and see where they take you.